Good morning, third grade. Our target for today is I can solve repeated addition story problems using pictures and equations. We've learned about 4 different multiplication story problem types this year. The first type that we learned about was area multiplication, where you're finding the total square units covered by a rectangular object. Array multiplication was the next story problem type that we learned about. In an array story problem, physical items are arranged into rows and columns. You're trying to find the total number of physical items. Then we learned about equal-sized group multiplication, where physical items are organized into equal-sized groups. You're trying to find the total number of physical items. For the last 2 days, we have been learning about repeated addition multiplication. In a repeated addition problem, an action repeats itself again and again the same way, often over time. While all 4 of these story problem types have many differences, something they all have in common is that you multiply to find the answer to each of these 4 problem types. Today, we're going to learn more about repeated addition multiplication. Today, you're going to be solving repeated addition multiplication story problems using pictures and equations. You've learned that we represent repeated addition story problems using a number line. We're going to look at some story problems, and I'm going to give you 3 number lines that could possibly represent the story problem. You're going to have to look at each number line and determine which one actually represents the story problem correctly. We'll do the first one together. Derek reads 3 books each week this month. If there are 4 weeks in the month, how many books did Derek read? Well, I'm noticing right away that the action is that Derek reads books. And I also notice that the time is that he does this for 4 weeks. He reads 3 books each week for 4 weeks. I know that on a repeated addition number line, time goes on the bottom. And I realize that Derek is doing this for 4 weeks. So on the bottom of my number line, I should see 4 weeks. Number line A only has 1, 2, 3 weeks. Number line B has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks. That's too many. But number line C has 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks. It seems like number line C is probably the correct number line, but let me see what else I know in this story problem. I know that not only does Derek read for 4 weeks, but that he reads 3 books each week. That means that the repeated action that's happening is reading 3 books every single time. So I should see the same number, 3, added every single week. When I look at number line C, I see that we're adding 3 more each week, 3 more each time. Number line C is clearly the correct number line to represent this problem because it shows 4 weeks with 3 books read each week. Number line C is the correct number line to represent this problem. Now it will be your turn to determine which number line, mentions the story. Now it's your turn to determine which number line matches this story problem. On Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, Jude built 5 Lego cars per day. How many total Lego cars did Jude build? Ooh, this one's tricky because one of the pieces of information doesn't really seem like a number. You have to think about it to see how many days Jude built his Legos for. Which number line matches this story problem? I respectfully agree. Number line B matches the story problem because it's showing 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and it's showing that the action, building 5 cars each day, we're adding 5 each time. Number line B represents this story problem. Let's go ahead and look at one more. Each day, this week, Mrs. Hutchins plans to eat 4 carrots. How many carrots will Mrs. Hutchins eat in all? Ooh, once again, one of the pieces of information is tricky I can see she eats 4 carrots each day, but how many days did she do this for? You'll have to think like a mathematician. How many days is she doing this for? How many days are in a week? Which number line matches this problem? You're right. The number line that matches this problem is number line C. It shows 7 days, and there are 7 days in a week, and it shows the repeated action, eating 4 carrots each day. So we're adding 4 more each day. Number line C is the number line that matches this story problem. Now we're going to look at those same story problems and determine the equation we would write to solve them. Remember, to solve repeated addition problems, we multiply the repeated action times the number of times it happens. Sometimes kids think it's called repeated addition. I should add to solve it. But actually, we multiply the repeated action times the number of times it happens. Let's look at this problem together. Derek read 3 books each week this month. If there are 4 weeks in the month, how many books did Derek read? Well, I can see that he reads 3 books each week, and he did that for 4 weeks. My repeated action, reading 3 books each week, and how many times it happened? 4 weeks. So I would multiply 3 times 4 to find the answer to this story problem. Now it's your turn. What equation would we write to solve this problem? On Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, Jude built 5 Lego cars per day. How many total Lego cars did Jude build? What equation would we use to solve this problem? You're right. We would use the equation 3 times 5 equals n to find the answer to this problem. We would multiply the number of days, 3, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, times the repeated action, building 5 Lego cars per day. What about this final story problem? What equation would represent this? Each day this week, Mrs. Hutchins plans to eat 4 carrots. How many carrots will Mrs. Hutchins eat in all? What equation would we write to solve this? Ooh, I respectfully agree. We would say 7, the number of days in 1 week, times 4 carrots per day equals n, the total number of carrots Mrs. Hutchins eats. Now that we've reviewed how to represent and solve repeated addition story problem types, we're ready to use our problem-solving process to solve a repeated addition problem together. We'll start by reading and understanding. What do I know, and what am I trying to find out? Here's the problem. Jeff ran 3 miles each day for 1 week. How many miles did Jeff run that week? Well, one piece of information I see is that Jeff runs 3 miles each day. Now, I don't know. The other piece of information in this story problem is that he does that for 1 week. Oh, so the action that's repeating again and the question this story problem is asking is how many miles did Jeff run that week? The action that's repeated again and again in this problem is that Jeff ran 3 miles. And of course, the time is 1 week, and I know 1 week is the same as 7 days. He runs 3 miles each day for 7 days. Now we're ready to plan and determine the problem type. Well, today we know it's repeated addition, and also organize our information into a number line. You know that the action goes on top and how often or the time goes on the bottom. We've already talked about how miles run is the action and how days is the time. You know that we'll start by putting the days on the number line. But here it's telling us 1 week, so we have to think, how many days are in 1 week? Oh, that's right, 7. So I will go ahead and make my number line show 7 days. Remember, we always start at 0. There you can see I've shown 7 days on this number line, starting at 0 and going all the way to 7, being very careful to make my tick marks equally spaced apart. Now we can start thinking about the action. Well, I know after 0 days, Jeff has run 0 miles, but then the first day happens. I know that Jeff runs 3 miles each day, so the first day, Jeff ran 3 miles. After 1 day, he's run a total of 3 miles. Then the second day happens, and again, Jeff runs 3 miles. So after 2 days, Jeff has run 6 total miles. Then the third day happens, and again, Jeff runs 3 miles. After 3 days, Jeff has run a total of 9 miles. How many miles did Jeff run on the 4th day? Of course, I can't trick you. Jeff ran 3 miles the 4th day as well. He runs 3 miles every single day. So after 4 days, Jeff has run a total of 12 miles. Then the 5th day happens, and again, Jeff runs 3 miles. How many total miles has Jeff run after 5 days? You're right. He's run 15 total miles after 5 days. Then the 6th day happens, and Jeff runs 3 more miles. So after 6 days, he's run a total of 18 miles. How many miles does Jeff run on the 7th day? Absolutely, he runs 3 miles that day too. He runs 3 miles every single day. And how many total miles has Jeff run after 7 days? Absolutely, Jeff has run 21 total miles after 7 days. Look at that excellent number line we've just created to represent this story problem. We'll go ahead and take that same information and graph it. One piece of information is that Jeff runs 3 miles each day. I'll put that on my horizontal side, or horizontal axis. The other piece of information is that he does that for 1 week, which is 7 days. I'll put that on the vertical side. I'll go ahead and graph my 3 by 7 rectangle there. And then I'll ask myself, what does 1 square represent in this word problem? If you're not sure, first think, if you counted all of those squares, what would that tell you? Well then, what would just one of those squares represent? You're right. Each square represents 1 mile run. Now I need you to tell me, what kind of equation are we going to write to solve this problem? It's a repeated addition problem. So will we add or subtract or multiply to solve this? You're right. To solve a repeated addition problem, we'll multiply. So what equation would we write to solve this? Absolutely. To solve this problem, we would write the equation. Oops, I got so excited, I forgot to tell you that it's time to solve. You've already told me we're going to solve this using multiplication. And now it's time to solve this problem. What kind of equation would we write to solve this repeated addition problem? Would we add or subtract or multiply? You're right. We would multiply to solve a repeated addition problem. What equation will we write to represent this problem? I respectfully agree. The equation to represent and solve this problem would be 7 days times 3 miles run every day equals n, total miles run. What does n equal in this story problem? If you don't know 7 times 3 in a snap, use a strategy to help yourself solve it. You're right. N equals 21. So, the answer to the problem, how many miles did Jeff run that week, could be, Jeff ran 21 miles that week. Now we're ready to look back and check our answers. Well, let's start with the numbers we used, 3 and 7. Are those the numbers from the story problem? 3 miles and 1 week, which is 7 days. So, yep, 3 and 7 are correct. And we multiplied to solve this problem, which is exactly what you should do to solve a repeated addition problem. And finally, our answer restates the question, includes the number 21, and includes the word miles, because Jeff ran 21 miles. Thank you for solving this repeated addition problem with me today, 3rd grade. Have a great day.